The galactic trade station Horizon 9 floated in the darkness between three solar systems. It was a place where species from across the known galaxy came to trade goods, sign agreements, and pretend they trusted each other. The station was shaped like a massive wheel, spinning slowly to create gravity, and inside its metal walls walked creatures of every shape and size. Cole stood against a wall in the main commerce hall with his arms crossed over his chest. He was a human male of 34 years, with short brown hair and eyes that never seemed to rest on any one thing for too long. He wore a loose gray jacket over a simple black shirt, and anyone looking at him would think he was bored. They would be wrong. Had been hired as security for a small human trade delegation. It was an easy job, or so everyone told him. Horizon 9 was a peaceful station. No weapons were allowed except for ceremonial blades and the sidearms of licensed security personnel. Nothing ever happened here. Did not believe in places where nothing ever happened. Across the hall, a group of diplomats stood in a tight circle. They were tall creatures, almost 8 feet in height, with hard shells covering their bodies like armor made of bone. Their eyes were large and black, and they moved with careful precision. Ambassador led their delegation. She was older than the others, her shell faded to a pale gray, and she watched everything with the patience of someone who had seen much and remembered all of it. Noticed the human against the wall. She leaned toward her aide and spoke in their clicking language. Why does that human stand there doing nothing? He is supposed to be security, but he looks half asleep. Her aide, a younger name, turned to look. Humans are strange creatures, Ambassador. They seem lazy until they are not. I have read reports about them. Made a sound that meant mild interest. What reports? Military reports from the border conflicts. The humans fought against the raiders 10 years ago. The reports say they are unpredictable. Looked at again. He had not moved, but something about him bothered her. She could not say what it was. He looked relaxed, but there was something in his eyes that reminded her of a predator waiting in tall grass. She decided to watch him more carefully. The commerce hall was busy today. Traders moved between tables, their reptilian bodies covered in bright scales of green and gold. They were loud and aggressive in their bargaining, which was their way. The administrators floated near the ceiling, their jellyfish-like bodies pulsing with soft light as they monitored the activities below. Smaller species between the legs of larger ones, everyone trying to make deals and gain advantages. Watched all of it. He noted the positions of the 4 exits. He counted the security personnel from other species and marked their locations in his mind. He identified 3 individuals who moved differently from the traders, their eyes scanning the crowd rather than the merchandise. He filed this information away and kept watching. A merchant approached the human delegation. He was large for his species, with scars across his snout that spoke of past violence. His name was Captain, and he was known for pushing hard in negotiations. Your prices are insults, said to the human trade representative, a nervous man named Gregory Bell. You offer scraps and expect treasures in return. Perhaps humans do not understand real commerce. Gregory shifted uncomfortably. He was not used to dealing with aggressive aliens. Our prices are fair based on current market values. We can show you the data. Step closer. Data means nothing. Strength means everything. You are few and weak. Why should we trade fairly with you? The other in the hall turned to watch. Some of them reached for the ceremonial blades at their belts. The delegation grew still. Even the stopped their floating and focused their attention downward. Pushed himself off the wall and walked toward the confrontation. He did not hurry. He did not reach for the weapon hidden under his jacket. He simply walked until he stood beside Gregory, and then he stopped. Looked down at him. There was a head taller and twice as wide. And what is this? A small human comes to protect his trader. Did not answer. He just looked at with those restless eyes that suddenly were not restless at all. They were focused entirely on the captain, and there was something in them that made pause. The moment stretched. No one moved, no one spoke. Then made a sound that was almost a laugh. He stepped back and opened his clawed hands in a gesture of peace. Perhaps we can discuss prices further. There is no need for unpleasantness. The tension broke. The traders turned back to their business. They resumed their quiet conversations. They drifted away to other matters. Gregory let out a long breath. Thank you. I thought he was going to attack us. Shrugged. He was testing us. Respect strength, even quiet strength. He found what he was looking for. Ambassador watched the human walk back to his position against the wall. He had not spoken a single threatening word. He had not touched his weapon. He had simply stood there and looked at a creature twice his size, and the creature had backed down. She turned too. "Find me everything we have on human security protocols. I want to understand these creatures better." Bowed his head. "Yes, Ambassador, may I ask why?" "Because that human was not afraid. He should have been afraid. They could have killed him before he drew his weapon, but he was not afraid, and I want to know why." That night returned to his small quarters on the station. The room was basic, with a bed, a desk, and a small window that looked out into space. He locked the door behind him and began his evening routine. He removed his jacket and hung it on a hook. Beneath it, strapped to his left forearm, was a thin blade in a quick-release sheath. He removed it and placed it on the desk. From his right hip, he drew a compact sidearm, checked its charge, and set it beside the blade. From his belt, he unclipped a small device that could emit an electrical pulse strong enough to stun most species. He removed his boots and took out the small knives hidden in each one. From his back pocket, he retrieved a length of thin wire that could be used for many things. From around his neck, he removed a pendant that was actually a short-range communication device, an emergency beacon. Looked at the collection on his desk. 7 items. That was what he carried for a simple day of standing in a commerce hall on a peaceful station where nothing ever happened. It was not enough, it was never enough, but it was a start. He sat on his bed and began cleaning his weapons, preparing them for another day. Outside his window, the stars burned cold and distant, and somewhere in that darkness, something was coming. Did not know what it was or when it would arrive. But when it came, he would be ready. 3 days passed on Horizon 9 without incident. The traders traded. The diplomats talked. The administrators floated above it all and made sure everyone followed the rules. Cole continued to stand against walls and watch everything with those quiet eyes that missed nothing. Then the warning came. Director called the emergency meeting at the 14th hour of the station cycle. The director was a creature that looked like a floating jellyfish made of pale blue light, had run Horizon 9 for 20 years and had never once raised an alarm. Today, the director's body pulsed with rapid flashes that indicated extreme stress. The meeting room was large and round, with seats designed for many different body types. Representatives from each species on the station filled the chairs. They sat with their shells straight and their black eyes focused. They lounged with false casualness, their clawed hands never far from their ceremonial blades. Smaller species huddled together in groups. Humans occupied 2 chairs near the back. Sat beside Gregory Bell. He had brought Lisa Morgan with him, a young engineer of 28 years who worked on the human transport ships docked at the station. Lisa had red hair tied back in a simple tail and hands that were always moving, always touching things, always learning how they worked. Director floated to the center of the room and spoke in a voice that echoed strangely from a body with no visible mouth. "We have received warning from patrol vessels in Sector 7. 3 ships belonging to the organization known as the Hollow Sun are approaching this station. They will arrive in approximately 18 hours. The room erupted into noise. They roared questions. They clicked rapidly among themselves. The smaller species made sounds of fear and confusion. Did not make a sound, he simply listened. Director pulsed brighter to regain attention. The Hollow Sun is a pirate coalition known for taking stations hostage. They strip all valuables and select hostages for ransom. They have destroyed 3 stations in the past 5 years when their demands were not met. Captain stood from his seat. Then we fight, arm everyone on the station. We outnumber them. Ambassador rose as well. We should attempt negotiation first. Violence should be the last option. We should seal all sections and wait for rescue, suggested an administrator. Rescue from where? Demanded. The nearest military force is 6 days away. We will be dead or captured long before they arrive. The argument continued. Each species pushed for their own approach. The wanted weapons, the wanted diplomacy, the wanted barriers and protocols. No one could agree on anything. Director turned toward the human representatives. What do the humans suggest? Gregory looked at with desperation in his eyes, stood slowly and faced the room. The humans will handle our own people, he said. We will share defensive recommendations with anyone who wants them. Beyond that, we wish each of you good fortune in your preparations. Made a dismissive sound. That is not a plan, that is cowardice. Looked at him with the same steady gaze that had stopped the 3 days ago. It is preparation, Captain. There is a difference. He sat back down. The meeting continued without further human input. Arguments circled and solutions were proposed and rejected. After 2 hours, Director dismissed everyone to prepare as they saw fit. As the species filed out, Ambassador approached. She moved with deliberate slowness, giving him time to notice her and prepare for conversation. Humans, she had learned, did not like to be surprised. "May I speak with you privately?" she asked. Nodded and followed her to a quiet corner of the room. Lisa Morgan came with them, her eyes already scanning the walls and ceiling, studying the construction of the station. "I watched you during the meeting," said. "You were not afraid when Director announced the threat. You were not surprised either. Why?" Considered the question. Fear does not help in moments like this. Surprise means I was not paying attention. I try to always pay attention. But you have no plan. Your people are few. The humans on this station number only 12. What can 12 individuals do against a pirate fleet? Lisa spoke for the first time. 12 can do a lot if they know what they are doing. It depends on the 12. Looked at the young engineer. "And do your 12 know what they are doing?" Lisa smiled. "We have been learning since we arrived." Did not understand what that meant, but something about it unsettled her. She turned back to, "What are humans actually planning to do?" Met her gaze. "We plan to be ready." He walked away before she could ask more questions. Lisa followed him and was left standing alone with a feeling she could not name. Appeared at her side. "Ambassador, what did the humans say?" "Nothing useful. They speak in riddles." "Perhaps that is their strategy, confuse the enemy." Shook her head. "No, there is something else. I watched that human during the meeting. He was not listening to the arguments. He was studying the room, the exits, the security systems, the people." "Why would he do that?" "I do not know, but I intend to find out." Over the next several hours, made a point of watching the humans. What she saw confused her even more. The 12 humans on the station did not gather in one place. They did not argue or panic. They simply moved through the station with quiet purpose, each one going in a different direction. She found Lisa Morgan in the engineering section, asking questions about the environmental systems. The technicians were happy to explain how things worked. Lisa nodded and thanked them and took notes on a small device. She found another human, a man named Peter Grant, in the cargo bay. He was examining shipping containers and asking about their contents and weight. She found a woman named Carol Brooks near the medical center, checking on supplies and learning the layout of the treatment rooms. Everywhere she looked, humans were doing the same thing. They were not preparing for this specific threat. They were learning everything about the station, as if they planned to live here forever or defend it against any enemy that might come. Finally found in a maintenance corridor, examining the door mechanisms. Was with him, asking questions that answered with patience. "Why do you carry so many weapons?" Asked. "This is a peaceful station. We have security forces. There should be no need." Paused in his examination of the door. "Where I come from, we have a saying, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. But surely in safe places, you can relax your guard." Looked at the young with something like sympathy. "Let me tell you something about humans. We evolved on a planet that was trying to kill us. The weather wanted to kill us. The animals wanted to kill us. The plants wanted to kill us. Even the water and the air wanted to kill us if we were not careful. That sounds terrible. It made us who we are. We learned that safety is never permanent. It is something you build and protect every single day. The moment you stop protecting it, it disappears." He returned to examining the door. "So I carry weapons. I study exits. I learn how systems work. Not because I expect trouble, but because trouble does not wait for expectations. It simply comes." Was silent for a long moment, and the other humans, they are doing the same thing. Smiled. "Every human learns this from childhood. Find the exits. Know your surroundings. Keep tools close. We cannot help it. It is simply how we survive." The station speakers crackled to life. Director's voice echoed through every corridor. "Attention all residents. Long-range sensors have confirmed 3 hollow sun vessels approaching. Estimated arrival in 18 hours. All species should make final preparations." Closed the maintenance panel and stood. "Would you like to learn something useful?" "Yes." "Then watch what the humans do. Not what we say, what we do. And when the pirates arrive, stay close to us." He walked away into the corridor and stood alone, wondering what exactly he had agreed to. The countdown began. 18 hours until the hollow sun arrived, and the station transformed into a place of chaos and fear. The traders raided their own cargo holds, searching for weapons they had hidden among their goods. They found ceremonial blades, old pistols, and a few energy rifles that should not have been on the station at all. Captain organized them into fighting groups, but they argued constantly about who should lead and where they should defend. The guards attempted to form defensive lines at key points, but their training was for peacekeeping, not warfare. They knew how to break up fights between drunk traders, not how to repel armed invaders. Ambassador watched them struggle and felt a growing sense of dread. They sealed themselves in the control center and the critical systems areas. They trusted in doors and barriers, not in fighting. Director issued orders that no one followed and updates that no one wanted to hear. The smaller species hid. They found storage rooms and maintenance shafts and cargo containers, anywhere they could disappear until the danger passed. Some tried to flee on transport ships, but the hollow sun had already blocked the exit routes. There was nowhere to run. And the humans did something else entirely. Cole gathered all 12 humans in a small meeting room. They came from different parts of the station, each one carrying something they had acquired during their quiet preparations. Lisa Morgan brought station schematics she had from the engineering systems. Peter Grant brought information about cargo weights and locations. Carol Brooks brought medical supplies she had quietly moved to 3 hidden locations. Others brought other things: knowledge about door mechanisms, access codes they had memorized, information about which species could be trusted and which would panic. Every human had been working, and now they shared what they had learned. Stood at the front of the room. We have 18 hours. That is more time than we usually get. What do we know? Lisa spoke first. The station has 6 main sections connected by 4 primary corridors. Environmental systems can be controlled from engineering, but there are manual overrides at each section junction. If someone knows what they are doing, they can seal sections, vent atmosphere, or change temperature in specific areas. Can you do those things? Asked. Lisa nodded. I spent 3 hours learning the systems. I can do what needs to be done. Peter Grant raised his hand. The cargo bay has heavy containers that can be moved to create barriers. Also, there are industrial chemicals in storage that could be useful if combined correctly. Made a note, Carol. Medical supplies are hidden in 3 locations. I also found that the station has emergency oxygen masks stored throughout the corridors. Most species do not know about them because they breathe different atmospheres, but humans can use them. Good, what else? Other humans reported. They had found maintenance tunnels that connected sections in ways the main maps did not show. They had identified which station security officers were competent and which would flee at the first sign of danger. They had counted how many individuals of each species were on the station and estimated how many would fight, how many would hide, and how many would try to surrender. Listened to all of it. When the reports were finished, he stood silent for a moment, processing the information. Then he spoke. The pirates will breach at multiple points to divide the defenders. They will expect confusion and panic. They will expect to face disorganized resistance that collapses quickly. We will give them something different. He looked around the room at the 11 other humans. We cannot defend the entire station. We are too few, but we can control key areas. We can create surprises. We can make them pay for every step they take. And if we fail, someone asked. His expression did not change. Then we make sure they remember us. The hours passed. The humans spread throughout the station again, but now their movements had purpose. They were not learning anymore. They were preparing. Lisa Morgan spent 4 hours in the engineering section, memorizing control sequences and testing systems. The technicians thought she was nervous and trying to distract herself. They did not realize she was turning their own station into a weapon. Peter Grant moved cargo containers in the loading bay, creating narrow passages that would force attackers into single-file lines. He positioned heavy crates at angles that would provide cover for defenders. The thought he was organizing for evacuation. They did not see the killing ground he was building. Carol Brooks placed medical supplies in hidden locations and marked them on a map that only humans would see. She also found the emergency oxygen masks and moved them to places where humans could reach them quickly. She told no one what she was doing. Other humans did other things. They loosened panels in walls that could be removed to create surprise passages. They identified which light fixtures could be broken to create darkness. They found tools that could become weapons and placed them where they might be needed. Ambassador watched one human, a quiet man named Daniel Hayes, walk through the commerce district. He touched walls and counted steps and looked at ceiling fixtures. When she approached him, he smiled politely and said he was stretching his legs. "What are you really doing?" she asked. Daniel looked at her with eyes that seemed innocent but were not. "I am looking at things, Ambassador. Humans like to look at things." "You are preparing for battle." "I am preparing for whatever comes. There is a difference." Felt frustration building in her chest. Why do humans refuse to share their plans? We could work together. Daniel's smile faded. "Ambassador, in my experience, plans rarely survive contact with the enemy. What matters is not having a perfect plan. What matters is being ready to adapt when the plan fails." "And how does one become ready to adapt?" "By knowing everything possible about the environment, by having tools and options, by accepting that things will go wrong and preparing for that too." He walked away before she could ask more questions, watched him go and felt something she rarely felt. She felt ignorant. There was something the humans understood that she did not, and she could not quite grasp what it was. The final hours approached. Director made an announcement that everyone should gather in designated safe zones. The guards took positions at the main corridors. The fighters argued about strategy until Captain silenced them with a roar. The 12 humans did not gather in the safe zones. They spread throughout the station, each one at a position they had chosen, each one equipped with whatever they had managed to collect. Stood in a corridor near the commerce district. He checked his weapons one final time, the blade on his forearm, the sidearm at his hip, the electrical device on his belt, the knives in his boots, the wire in his pocket, the tools he had collected over the past 18 hours and hidden in his jacket and pants. He counted 47 items, 47 options, 47 ways to respond to whatever came through those doors. It still did not feel like enough. It never felt like enough. Lisa Morgan contacted him through a small communication device. "The pirates are entering weapons range. They are launching boarding craft." "How many?" 12 craft, probably 10 to 15 fighters in each. Did the math. 150 pirates against a station of frightened traders, diplomatic guards, and 12 prepared humans. He almost smiled. He had faced worse odds. "Lisa, are you ready?" "Yes." "Then let us show them what humans can do." The station shuddered as the first boarding craft attached to the outer hull. The lights flickered. Somewhere in the distance, an explosion echoed through the metal walls. The hollow sun had arrived, and Cole had 47 weapons ready, while others were still searching for one. The pirates breached the station at 3 points. They came through the cargo bay, the docking ring, and an emergency airlock near the residential section. They expected panic. They expected screaming civilians running in confusion. They expected easy targets. What they found was different. The first group entered the cargo bay and immediately spread out to secure the area. They were professionals, moving in practice formations, weapons raised and ready. Their leader, unnamed, commanded from the center of the group. Commander had taken 6 stations in his career. He knew how these things went. The defenders would gather in one place and try to hold a single position. His forces would surround them, cut off their supplies, and wait until they surrendered or died. It was simple and effective. But as his fighters moved between the cargo containers, something felt wrong. The containers were arranged strangely. The paths between them were narrow, forcing his people to move in single lines, and the lighting was dim in ways that created deep shadows. The first pirate fell without a sound. One moment he was walking. The next moment he was on the ground with blood spreading from his throat. No one saw what happened. The second pirate made a noise, a short cry of surprise before something pulled him into the shadows between containers. His weapon fired once, hitting nothing, and then there was silence. Commander roared for his fighters to form up to watch each other's backs, but the cargo bay was a maze now and his people were scattered throughout it. He heard gunfire from 3 different directions, screams, the sound of something heavy falling. Peter Grant moved through the cargo bay like a ghost. He knew every container, every shadow, every path. He had designed this killing ground and now he used it. His first weapon was a knife, quick and silent. His second was a stolen pirate rifle. His third was a cargo hook that he swung with devastating force. When the stolen rifle ran out of charge, he dropped it and picked up another from a fallen pirate. When the pirates started using thermal sensors, he threw hot chemical packs from the cargo supplies to create false signatures. When they tried to communicate, he used a jamming device he had built from station components. Commander lost 8 fighters in the cargo bay before he ordered a retreat to regroup. 8 fighters to 1 human they never even saw clearly. In the docking ring, the second pirate group found a different challenge. Lisa Morgan had prepared a welcome for them. The pirates came through the airlock in a rush, expecting to secure the area quickly. Instead, the corridor lights went out completely. Emergency lighting activated, bathing everything in red. Then the environmental systems began cycling. The temperature dropped rapidly. Frost formed on the walls. The pirates, dressed for combat but not for extreme cold, began to slow. Their movements became clumsy. Their weapons became difficult to hold. Then sections of the corridor sealed. Heavy doors slammed down, separating the pirate group into smaller clusters. Some clusters found themselves in sections where the atmosphere was thinning. Others found the gravity increasing until they could barely stand. Lisa sat in a maintenance room connected to engineering, her fingers moving across control panels she had memorized. She could not fight like or Peter, but she could turn the station itself into a weapon. The pirates in the docking ring spent an hour trying to advance. They lost 12 fighters to cold, to atmosphere problems, to accidents caused by changing gravity. When they finally broke through the sealed doors, they found empty corridors and no sign of whoever had been controlling the systems. The third group, entering through the residential section, had the worst experience of all. Cole was waiting for them. He started with the sidearm, dropping the first 3 pirates before they even knew he was there. When they took cover and returned fire, he was already moving, circling through a maintenance shaft he had found earlier. He emerged behind them and used the electrical device to stun 2 more. When that ran out of charge, he threw it at a pirate's face as a distraction and closed the distance with his blade. The pirates were trained fighters, but they had never faced anything like this. The human moved constantly, never staying in one place, never fighting fair. He used furniture as weapons. He threw objects to distract and blind. He led them into traps he had set earlier and then attacked while they were confused. Ambassador watched through the security cameras, her black eyes wide with something between horror and fascination. She had positioned herself in a monitoring station following the battle through the station's surveillance system. She watched Cole fight for 90 minutes. She counted the weapons and tools he used. A sidearm, a blade, an electrical device, knives from his boots, a wire used to trip and strangle, a broken piece of furniture used as a club, a fire extinguisher sprayed into eyes and then swung as a weapon, a stolen pirate pistol, another stolen rifle, a chemical spray that blinded, a heavy tool used to break bones. She stopped counting at 47. There were more after that, but she lost track. "How is this possible?" whispered. "He is one human, they are dozens." Shook her head slowly. "Watch his eyes, he is never surprised. He always knows where he is going next. He planned for this." "No one can plan for everything." "Humans can." Paused. "No, that is not right. Humans do. They plan for everything because they cannot stop themselves. It is who they are." The battle continued throughout the station. The guards held their positions at the main corridors, inspired by the chaos the humans were creating elsewhere. The fighters found new courage when they realized the invaders were not invincible. Even some of the hiding civilians emerged to throw objects at pirates or block their paths. But the humans were the difference. 12 individuals who had spent 18 hours preparing for this moment. 12 minds that had been trained since childhood to find exits, assess threats, and keep tools close. Carol Brooks saved 17 lives by guiding wounded civilians to her hidden medical stations. Daniel Hayes led a group of frightened through maintenance tunnels to safety. Peter Grant turned the cargo bay into a graveyard for pirates. And Cole became something that the pirates would remember in their nightmares, if they survived to have nightmares. Commander finally gathered his remaining forces in the central hub. He had lost nearly half his fighters to traps, ambushes, and a station that seemed to fight back on its own. His communications were jammed. His thermal sensors showed heat signatures everywhere. His people were scared, and scared fighters made mistakes. He needed to end this quickly. He needed leverage. "The control center," he ordered. "We take the station leadership. Once we have hostages, the resistance will stop. His remaining fighters formed up. 40 pirates, still more than enough to take one room full of administrators. They moved toward the control center in a tight formation, watching every shadow, jumping at every sound. They did not know that Cole was already there, waiting in the corridor outside the control center with everything he had left, which was still more than they expected. Cole stood alone in the corridor outside the control center. His jacket was torn and stained with blood, some of it his own. His left arm hung slightly lower than his right, injured in a fight 2 hours ago. His sidearm was empty. His blade was chipped. Most of his 47 weapons were gone, used up in 90 minutes of constant combat. But he was still standing. And behind him, the door to the control center remained sealed, protecting Director and the station leadership. Commander approached with his remaining fighters. 40 pirates, armed and angry, filled the corridor. They had lost too many friends tonight. They wanted blood. Stopped 10 meters from and studied the human. He saw a creature half his size, injured and exhausted, standing alone against impossible odds. It should have been funny. Instead, it made him uneasy. One human said, "You are one human against 40 warriors. Step aside and you might live." Did not step aside. He did not speak. He just stood there with those quiet eyes that had seen so much death tonight and were ready to see more. Felt his anger rising. Why do you fight? Your station is lost. Your people are scattered. You cannot win. Now spoke, his voice calm and steady. That depends on how you define winning. I define it as taking the station and everyone on it. Shook his head slowly. I define it as making sure you pay a price so high that you never forget it. I define it as standing here until I cannot stand anymore. I define it as making you afraid of every shadow and every corner for the rest of your life. You are insane. Almost smiled. I am human, we get that a lot. Raised his weapon, last chance, move or die. Shifted his weight slightly, preparing for what came next. He had 3 weapons left. A small knife hidden in his sleeve, a chemical packet that could create a blinding flash, and his own body, which had been trained for violence since he was a child. It would not be enough, he knew that, but enough was not the point. The point was making them work for it. Then Lisa Morgan's voice crackled in his ear through the tiny communication device. I need 30 seconds. He did not know what she was planning. He did not need to know. He trusted her. 30 seconds. He could give her 30 seconds. Drew the knife from his sleeve and moved. The pirates fired. He dove and rolled, the shots passing through the space he had just occupied. He came up throwing the knife, which buried itself in a pirate's throat. He grabbed the falling body and used it as a shield, rushing forward into the group. The corridor became chaos. Pirates could not fire without hitting their own people. Moved between them, striking and kicking and biting and doing whatever it took to stay alive for just a few more seconds. He felt a blade cut his side. He felt a fist connect with his jaw. He kept moving, kept fighting, kept counting the seconds in his head. 25, 20, 15. Finally got a clear shot and fired. The blast hit in the chest and threw him backward. He crashed against the wall and slid to the floor, his body refusing to respond. The pirates surrounded him, weapons pointed at his head, pushed through them to stand over the fallen human. Now you die, the commander said. Looked up at him with blood on his teeth. He was smiling. No, he said, now you lose. The corridor sealed. Heavy doors slammed down at both ends, trapping the pirates in a 20-meter section. Before they could react, a hissing sound filled the air. The atmosphere was venting. Lisa Morgan had finally found the right controls. The pirates scrambled for the doors, trying to force them open. They screamed into their communicators for help that would not come. They beat against the walls with desperate strength. Turned back to who was still lying on the floor, still smiling. You will die too, human. Reached under his shirt and pulled out a small mask. It was one of the emergency oxygen masks that Carol Brooks had found. He pressed it to his face and breathed deeply. No, he said, I will not. Stared at him with something new in his eyes. Fear, real fear. You planned this, all of it. Shook his head. I planned to be ready for whatever happened. This is what happened. The atmosphere continued to thin. The pirates began to fall, one by one, as their lungs failed. Dropped to his knees, his snout gasping for air that was not there. He looked at with hatred and something else. Respect maybe, or horror. Why, he managed to ask. Why do humans fight so hard? Met his gaze. Because we have to. Because our world taught us that survival is never free. Because we love life so much that we will do anything to keep it. His eyes closed. He fell forward and did not move again. Lay there in the corridor surrounded by fallen pirates, breathing through his mask, waiting for rescue. He had 3 broken ribs, a punctured lung, cuts and bruises covering his body, and a smile on his face. He had won, not alone, but with Lisa and Peter and Carol and Daniel and all the other humans who had done their part. 12 people who had learned since childhood to always be ready. The doors opened. Rushed in with a medical team, his shell clicking with distress when he saw on the floor. "Is he dead?" someone asked. Raised one hand in a weak wave. "Not yet." They carried him to the medical center where Carol Brooks was already treating wounded from across the station. The battle was over. The hollow sun was broken. Some pirates had surrendered. Others had fled. Most had died. 3 days later, sat in a recovery room while Ambassador interviewed him for her report. "I counted 47 weapons," she said. 47 different tools you used in 90 minutes of combat." Nodded. "It was a busy day." "How did you know to bring so many?" "I did not bring them all. Some I found, some I made, some I took from enemies." Leaned forward. "But you were ready. You and all the other humans. You prepared for this from the moment you arrived on the station, even before there was any threat." "Yes." "Why?" Considered the question carefully before answering. "Ambassador, where I come from, we have a phrase. It is better to have something and not need it than to need something and not have it. But you take it so far. You treat every peaceful moment as preparation for violence." No, his voice was gentle but firm. "We treat every peaceful moment as something worth protecting. Peace is not natural. It is built by people who are willing to defend it. The moment you stop being ready to defend it, someone will come and take it away." Was silent for a long time. Then she began writing in her report. She wrote about humans and their strange ways, about their constant preparation and their refusal to ever feel truly safe, about how they moved through the galaxy expecting danger and being ready when it came. She wrote one line that she underlined twice. "The humans do not hope for peace. They build it, maintain it, and stand ready to defend it with everything they have, which is always more than anyone expects." When left the station a week later, was waiting at the docking bay. The young had asked to escort him to his ship. "I want to thank you," said. "You saved many lives." "We all did what we could." Hesitated, then asked the question he had been thinking about since the battle. "How many weapons do you have with you right now?" Smiled, the same quiet smile he had worn when Commander asked him to step aside. He did not answer. He did not need to. The answer was always the same. However many he had, it was enough, and if it was not enough, he would find more, because that was what humans did. That was what humans had always done. He walked onto his ship without looking back, and watched him go, knowing that he had learned something important about the strange creatures called humans. They were never unarmed, they were never unprepared, they were never surprised. And that was why, when the darkness came, they were still standing.